Well, I got a couple of things in the mail today that I've been waiting on, this in particular, and I thought I'd mention it. It's actually for balancing motorcycle tires. And really all it is a rod with two cones that are adjustable. And there's a couple of roller bearings on here. It's designed to fit into a regular automotive jack stand. You use two of them, one on each side. It's the same setup over there. But then you just see where the heaviest point is on your wheel. And this is kind of important when you're running these rim locks because that's a big chunk of steel that you add weight to it. So this one I'm heavy right about here. And there is a bunch of weight on here. There's a rim lock here, so I think I'll go right across. Normally, if you're heavy here, to balance it, you would go with 2 points. So you have 3 points of balance rather than just directly across. But I kind of like that. It's simple. Years ago, we used to use a similar device, but it didn't have as good a cones. This has got very narrow tapered cones, so you can get quite a way. You get into the bearing without touching the seal, because that was a problem. It used to be, in order to really get it accurate, you'd had to pull the seals out. This was before, in later years we got one of those spin balancers, but a very expensive machine that I kind of considered unnecessary. If you're going for a land speed record, maybe it would matter, but particularly on a dirt bike, it really doesn't matter very much. You can be a lot off balance and never notice it. But that's a pretty simple device for, I think, around $30. And it actually even comes with a few of these stick-on weights, but of course I won't use them. And I think they're steel stick-on. I suppose they could sell them in California. They can't be lead. But I like on here now where it actually goes on the spokes. Because then the centrifugal force is tightening them on all the time. So, I think that's all right. Like I say, we had that fancy spin balancer, but I always kind of thought that was a little bit of a rip-off. To recoup the cost of the machine, we ended up charging like $15 or $20 to balance a tire. I normally I'll just do them on the bike. I put them in if you don't have the chain on or if it's just on the axle, you can get a pretty good balance that way. But I thought this would be kind of nice to have. But I'm not going to leave it to be used with jack stands. I will actually make a frame for it that these could be welded right on, and use it that way. Because in that way, my theory is I just want to make sure I get a height and get what I need. But in that way, you could actually end up using it for a truing stand too, which would be more important to me. Like for this balancing thing, it's running on these bearings, but for a truing stand, you would lock the bearings and run on your wheel bearings, which work fine too. I really don't feel that these are all that necessary. Like there, it's spinning quite freely on just the bearings. As long as the seals aren't dragging. I like that. But that's just off eBay. There's a lot of them for sale, and I think they're around $30. But another thing I was going to mention was these things. I bought a new one because now they have a lid for it. My old one didn't have a lid, and you'd always get crap down in there. But these are the Ratio Rite cups that have been around forever. And they're really excellent if you run a variety of two-stroke motors, or even if you have one two-stroke motor that you have to mix the gas and the oil, because it's very easy to figure what you need. it's got from 1 to 2.5 gallons. Let's say you have 2 gallons of gas, you go in 32 to 1. Well, there's the mark where you fill it up to that mark to mix 32 to 1. It always freaks me out when I see people, this looks like the right amount. Well, that's a poor way to pre-mix. These things, like I said, they've been around for a long time. I don't often use them for mixing because I kind of avoid two-strokes except for the chainsaws, and then I've got the pre-measured. But what I use it for, it's, on this side it's got the ratios. On this side it's got pints, cc's, and fluid ounces. Well, I use the fluid ounces a lot for filling fork oil. You have so much you're supposed to put in, and you can look on this chart, and fill it to that level to get them balanced. But like I say, they have been around forever. I don't even remember what I paid for it. Basically, I was after the lid. But if you run two strokes, my God, get one of these. That foolish estimating is going to cost you money. These things work very, very well. And they've always worked really well. They're very popular with people racing two strokes and stuff. But it's just really handy to have. If you've got two strokes, you should not be without one of these. They're just a great invention. And like I say, they've been around forever. They haven't changed except that now you can get a lid for them. Well, that's fine. Because it always used to be, you dump fork oil in, then the thing would sit on the shelf, and then bugs and stuff would get in there, and you have to clean it out every time you used it. Well, now, with a lid, I can keep that situation under control. But very important to have. I don't know why you wouldn't have one if you're running two strokes, because that whole thing of, pouring, this looks about this much. Oh, man, that can cost you way more than this thing costs.